fun and you win the games.
I feel it. All right, let's get this thing started. So we
Let's go.
have a lot of good points, but we have a lot of good points.
You gotta get that on video.
All right, here we go. Welcome to Straight Shooting with the Boys. It's the boy Diaz. We got the boy
J-Lo.
He's on that side. I'm trying to figure out how to work this thing.
I know it's inverted, so it me out too.
I know. I meant to mirror it so that when I point, I can point.
Go in the right direction.
In real life, I'm pointing at you, but it looks like I'm pointing at the wall. But it's all right. Anywho, week 15, 16, 15, right? Week 15, got a lot of news coming up. Like, one of the worst things I could ever hear from my fantasy team, Jalen Hurts sprained his shoulder. And I was averaging like 200 points a week, and now I'm not, because I don't even have a backup quarterback. I went and picked up Jared Goff, so let's see. Hey, Jared Goff ain't throwing an interception in like 5 weeks. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, Detroit's the hottest team in the NFC right now, so can't be mad at that. He got Amon-Ra, he got Williams back, there playing, balling out, so you never know.
But Jalen Hurts was averaging like 40 points the last 5 weeks. Last week he had 3 rushing touchdowns. It was just he threw 2 picks, and I was like, "Wow, I'm gonna lose." Because I had negative 6 points in my quarterback position, and I ended with 39 points. Like, I mean, he ended with it. I didn't do anything. He did it.
So I lost my game because I had a gut feeling Kirk Cousins, Cole. Like, it wasn't gonna be a good game for whatever reason. I was like, matchup doesn't seem the best for me. Benched him, looked like a genius. He's 100 yards. 2 touchdowns. I'm like, fuck, thank God I benched this guy. I take a nap, mind you. I was coming off of work, tired, took a nap, woke up to 48 points, and I'm like, what just happened? And then I lost. I lost by fucking 10 points. It would have been the difference.
As I was watching the game, I was sitting there, I was looking at the fantasy thing, and I was like, damn, you have Kirk on your bench. And he has 35 points right now. And then after the game was over, I was like, I wonder if an interim coach has ever been fired.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. That was bad. That was horrible. That was the worst. And it wasn't anything Kirk. I mean, he made some plays, and Jefferson, all that made some plays, but realistically, like, that was on the Colts. You can't finish that game out. You 100%. That's your fault. Like that, and it goes on Matt Ryan. It goes on the defense. It goes on everybody. Like, everybody contributed to that.
They benched him.
I know.
Go back to the bench. You're done, son. I feel like he's going to retire at the end of the season. He has to. Unless he wants to be a backup. I just don't think he's a starter anymore. He doesn't have. He didn't have it last year. Last year when we went to the 49er game when they played I went to the 49er game when they played the Falcons, and he looked like he just didn't have it. I remember Bosa had a sack. Bosa had a sack on him, and like he looked at Bosa, and Bosa looked at him, and then he sacked him. Didn't hit him very hard. Nothing. Just like sacked him, took him down, and fumbled. And I was like, man, that was a weird fumble. Like, Bosa hit him, and he just stood up, like, he did his thing, and he looked over, he's like, oh, shit.
The ball's there,
let me now.
If anything, maybe a backup if he wants to come back another year. I wouldn't mind having him in that QB room, pick his brain, and you know what I mean? The dude's a smart guy. Understands football.
If we have Trey Lance or Brock Purdy, like, those are 2 young guys. You have a really good vet who knows Kyle Shanahan's system. That's been successful in this, the most successful in this system.
Yeah.
For sure, I would definitely love to have him in our.
I'd be all about it. Bring him in. He's our 3rd string guy, but he's that clipboard on the sidelines with the earpiece. Bring him in as a player and let him play as a coach.
How much do you think the Colts and Jets? I think it's just the Colts and the Jets regret not signing or trading for
Jimmy? He drastically. There's no way they can look at their teams right now and be like, if we do it's a similar feeling to Tom Brady Niner situation. Like, there's no way we looked at that situation after it unfolded and said, "Fuck, we shouldn't. We made the right choice." They're just not. Like, yeah.
Kyle Shanahan last week or 2 weeks ago just said, like, what were we thinking? Like, why didn't we sign that guy?
Yeah, it was dumb. In hindsight, being 2020, like, you know, Jimmy's coming in. He's had a great season. He's won games. Like, I get why they made the decision, but there's a similar situation now. As there was a wild card with Jimmy. You don't know how his shoulder's going to be. You got Matt Ryan, who's played at a decent level. You got a young kid that you drafted in the first round. Like, so I get their mindsets going into the season why they did it, but it's the mindset that screwed them that helped us get to our point. Because I don't know that
Brock Purdy would have done this. I think week 3.
I don't think him coming in to carry the team and then having the struggles we did with injuries and everything else in the beginning of the season. He came right in at the time where we're healthy. Our defense is playing lights out. Everybody around him is playing good. We have CMC on the team. Like, he came into the perfect position for him to win anything. He could have came into a more perfect situation. So,
I don't think. I think it also, because where he came in at, Kyle had pressure on him, so he still had to call the plays to win.
Yeah.
He couldn't. He couldn't try to micromanage the quarterback.
Exactly.
Which is fine. You want to micromanage the quarterback. I get that because we win. And Jim Harbaugh used to do the same thing, and he won. Like, you're playing chess in the football game. I get it. Like, you win. I don't care. Let's just win games.
Yeah.
We have a great defense. We have good players. I don't care. However, because of where we were, because at that point I think we were only on like a 3 or 4 game win streak. I think we might have been like 6-4 maybe at the most. Because of where we were, our playoff positioning wasn't there yet.
Yeah.
He was required to call plays to win, which I think at that point let Brock Purdy get confidence. And once he got confidence, it also gave Kyle Shanahan confidence.
To be able to continue down that route. Yeah.
Now they ain't going to go. But like when Trey Lance came in last year, we were already winning by doing what we used to do with the dink and dunk. Debo going for like forever, and then we would win. So he had no confidence, and he didn't have to go deep. So he was really just dinking and dunking like Jimmy does, and that's not Trey's game plan. That's not Trey's game. He's
not at all.
Intermediate deep. Yeah. So like, I feel like if Brock Purdy came in week 3, we would a way different Brock Purdy, a way different season. But since Brock Purdy came in where he came in, we see a different Kyle, which is nice because with this Kyle, and if this is the quarterback going forward, I know we gave up 2. We did not give up 3 first-round draft picks for Trey. We gave up 2 because we drafted him with 1, and we.
I know people say that. I'm like, I don't think you guys comprehend what you guys are saying. Like, yes, exactly. They received 3 picks, but they received our pick that we traded to get to that pick. So that was a wash, realistically. The other 2 we gave. So yes, we got 2 right.
I get we gave up 3 picks for him, right? We gave up 3 picks for him. 2 picks for him and used the first round. So we used 3 first round picks on Trey Lance. Get that, but he's only 20 years old. He's got forever still.
Oh yeah,
the way quarterbacks are playing, he has another 20 years to play football.
Yeah, easy, and
I don't care.
And that's what I think people are, and I think Shanahan and Lynch kind of fell into that pressure of like, we gave up those picks, we got to play them like realistically, and I think they're starting to realize that now. We're not in a rush to play this man. Like, I get it. Everyone wants to see this kid. Every Niner fan that watched us draft him, watched us give us those picks.
I want to see him play.
Yeah. The announcers, all the analysts seeing us give those picks, they're going to continue to highlight that until we get some kind of return from him. They're going to continue to highlight that we gave up first-round picks and we did all this stuff and he had no game experience, yada, yada, yada. They're going to continue to have those conversations until there's a return, right? Or until we realize it was a bust and we chalk it up to a bust. But until one of those realizations come to fruition, it's going to continue to be talked about. Shanahan and Lynch just need to do their job to mute that shit and go win some fucking games. No one cares if Trey Lance sits on the bench for the next 2 years if you win 2 Super Bowls. Like, who gives a fuck? At that point, now Trey Lance is 23, 24 years old. That's most rookies coming into the NFL at 23, 24 years old. There's plenty of the rookies that came in getting drafted at 22, 23 years old. So I'm like, you got a kid that is going to learn this whole time. He's going to get the offense down. He's going to get the system down. He's going to understand play calling, when to make those plays, when not to make those plays. He's going to continue to grow and to develop. And all that time, you're still winning games. You know what I mean? So it's not like you're not in a rush like the Zach Wilson thing where we have to play this kid because no one expected White to be what he was. I mean, he's not bad. He's a decent quarterback. So I'm happy that they at least got that out of it and they got that return there. But realistically, like, he was brought in to be that guy. Like, he had to be that guy. Jared Goff, when he came into his situation, all these guys who came into their situations, they came in expected to be that guy. Now the positive that we have and I guess the you could say like the blessing that we have is we have such a team around these players that we don't need to rush that. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, granted, our Super Bowl window is getting smaller because these players all have to be resigned. We're not going to be able to afford to bring everybody back. So with the team that we have now, the window is shrinking. But that's why even more so, you bring in a fucking vet that can play. You bring in a Brady. You bring in somebody.
Is it shrinking? The salary cap's going up. Did you see that the YouTube deal went through?
That's true. That's true. Okay, so
everybody signed.
Yeah, everybody signed. Everybody signed through the next couple of years. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, but
and then it's like I don't know. The one position that I'll say that might make it shrink is our left tackle because he is in his 13th year or something like that. He's older. But still the best in the league, so I'm not gonna. I'm not
stressing. And even then, like I
agree with you though. I agree 1,000% with you. I think with our Super Bowl window, it's better to play the person that can win the game than it is the person that needs to learn the game. There's no rush for Trey. Like, we don't have to put him in there. Like, I was happy that he started like at the beginning of the year. I still am excited for him because he didn't show anything to where I'm like, oh, that guy's not ready yet. He played in a fucking monsoon and then got hurt like the second series of the next game. He didn't show anything to where it's like, oh, this guy's not a good player.
That's a good player.
He looked, and even in the monsoon, he looked poised. He didn't.
He looked comfortable.
The one thing that I noticed, the one difference between Jimmy G and those two is they don't have happy feet. Like, Jimmy G has, like, his feet get frenetic, and then I get nervous because
he gets anxious. You can see he gets anxious during the play, and I'm like, my heart rate jumps like 10 beats a minute every time I see that shift in his fucking.
Why is he freaking out?
Don't throw the ball. Like that, my thought process is throw the ball away.
Because then when I see it right now. When I see him in rhythm and he just makes a throw, I never freak out. It's like, all right, he saw what he wanted to see and he threw the ball. He's good.
Yeah.
But when I see him do that little happy feet and then throw the ball, I'm like, was that interception? Did we throw? Oh, like, it was okay. It's completion. And that's like 20 times a game, and it's like, bro, like, you guys settle your ass down. But then these two young kids come in, like Trey Lance doesn't freak out. He's like, to me, he was like a young Russell Wilson. Like, he was good at escaping the pass rush. And still looking downfield. He didn't look to run every single time. The only one he looked to run a lot was against Arizona, and even then he made a couple passes where I was like, all right, he's looking downfield.
And I feel like the game calling was kind of there too, though. Like, it seemed like they were calling plays for him to run. Like, let's lean on your feet a little bit in this game. So,
which is why maybe Kyle went to get Christian, which takes all the pressure off their quarterback. Because we don't have to run. Now we could just dink and run. And people are freaking out because he's getting 30 touches a game. And it's like, he's a running back. That's what he's supposed to do.
He should. It would be nice. It'd be nice to spread it out a little bit more. I don't want to. For me, I don't want to lean fully on CMC. But that being said, I think a lot of people, and I know this firsthand because when I was playing football, you unconsciously do this, and I've done it. And people can say what they want to say about football players, but mentally, your toughness changes depending on how comfortable you feel in this team, right? If you're having fun, even if your team's losing, if you're having fun, you feel good about this team, you feel good about the players, you feel good about the coaches, like you're gonna go out there, you're gonna ball out, you're gonna play, you're gonna you're gonna leave your heart on the field, right? They tell you leave everything on the field. You're gonna leave everything on the field. Yeah, you're gonna leave everything out there, and then when you start winning, even more so, right? You're winning. You're fucking excited. Like the bumps and the bruises and the twists and the turn, like all that stuff. You feel it in the moment, but you're like, I'm straight. Like I'm gonna go back out there. I'm gonna be playing. You know, it's not that big of a deal. You go back, you ice it overnight, fucking the rest of the week, and you come back, you play the next week. But when you start to get to a point, which Carolina definitely was, like yeah, they're winning some games right now, but let's not confuse it. They're not good. they have a good defense, and their offense is mediocre at best. But going into like these last few seasons, you've seen them struggle. You've seen them go quarterback to quarterback to quarterback to quarterback. It's demoralizing, and it starts to make you not want to play football as much anymore. So when now you get those injuries, right? It's different. You hit your ankle, and you're like, it hurts a little bit more for whatever reason. You know, mentally, it gets you a little bit more so than it did when you're having fun. So I'm like, people don't understand. His first few years, he was still getting 70% of that offensive carries. His workload hasn't changed his entire career. The only difference was towards the end, they started to struggle. The team started to struggle. The constant quarterback controversies and everything else that was going on, and all the media bullshit with Cam and all this other stuff going on, coaching, all that starts to get into your head. And then on top of that, like, why am I going to risk my longevity of my career and continue to put a workload in for a team that isn't doing anything to help me? You know what I mean? So you those injuries that they're talking about, that he's injury prone, I don't know that he is. Like, he got hurt, sure. He got banged up even in our games, but you notice how he went to the sideline, he stretched his fucking knee, he iced it up, and he came back out and finished the game because and yeah, exactly. You haven't heard. They haven't mentioned it. The injury hasn't came back. So it's like he's on a team now. He's on a team where the coaching is tightened up. The players are tightened up. The team's having fun. We're coming out dancing out the fucking tunnel. Like, he's on a team now where that all that energy and all that fun is carrying out to him, and he's like, fuck, my ankle hurts, but I'm gonna go out there and play. I'm gonna carry this ball 30 fucking times. I'm gonna put this team on my back. So
my thing is, like, do you think Kyle Shanahan doesn't tell which players to go in? He doesn't say, "Hey, I want Christian in this play. I want." Yeah. He doesn't say that. It's up to the running back coach and the running backs, right? Like, you can see the running backs on the field. Like, most times, when they want to come out, they'll point. They'll, hey, come in. I'm coming out. Like, they show that literally every game. But you never see Christian McCaffrey look at the sideline and be like, "Hey, come in." Like, you see him when he runs 3 straight carries and he runs right back to the huddle because he's not coming out.
Yeah, because he doesn't intend on coming out. Yeah.
Like, you can't. If it was a basketball game, you're not going to tell LeBron James to come out. LeBron James is going to look at you and say, "Fuck off!" Like, I'm going to play with my team. And that's
he's going to wave. He's going to wave you off, and he's going to say, "All right, let's go." Like, and that's exactly what.
That's his position. Like, Jordan Mason is way better than I ever expected. He looked good in the preseason, but he's even better now.
Yeah,
like,
he's even better.
Really, really good. Yeah. But you're a rookie, bro. Like, go sit your ass on the bench, and I'll tell you.
You sit there. You sit there, and I'll tell you when I need a break.
Right. And I feel like he has the humility, like Christian does. Like, toward the end of the game, he's like, "Yo, I'm not getting anything right now."
Yeah.
We call him, "Hey, Jordan, come on. This is your drive." Yeah. And then Jordan puts the game away, and then Christian McCaffrey gives him all the love at the end. Like, yo, that's the closer right there. That's Mario Rivera. Yeah. Like,
it's that. We have so many players on this team. No, go ahead.
He's like the most competitive person, Christian, but at the same time, he's like humble enough to be like, "Yo, this right here is your time. Like, this is not my time, and I'm gonna give you credit for when you succeed. I'm gonna give you the credit for it too, because I couldn't have did that."
And that's I was literally about to say the same thing. I feel like our whole team is built of a lot of players that have that same exact humility. It's like, if I'm going to ball out, I'm going to ball out. I know I'm an all-star. I know if I get the ball in my hands, I'm going to do my thing. But if you need me to come out, you need this guy to run this play, I can run that play. But go ahead and run it to Ray. Go ahead, you know what I mean? Like, go give it to to craft. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not one of those things where they're like, we need the ball in our hands. They're gonna definitely be out there. They're gonna want the ball in their hands, and come crunch time, come playoffs, those guys aren't coming out. Like, it's not unless
the whole game.
They're gonna. Yeah, so it's one of those things where like football IQ is a thing that people don't give some of these players credit for. And Christian McCaffrey's IQ is off the charts. That dude understands
football. He doesn't take massive hits. Like, no, he runs in the middle, but he's not taking massive hits. Like, he's gonna try. He tries. You can see he's trying yards. Okay, they got me. I'm gonna go down. Like, you can see
his body posture change. The second his feet are no longer moving, he stops his feet and straightens out his, like, kind of limps his body back and takes the tackle, because he's, again, like you said, it's you understand, okay, I'm not going to get out of this tackle. You know what I mean? Like, it's not that IQ comes into play. Yeah, I'm not moving. Let me go down and let me get the next play in, and I'll get the other 5 yards of the next play. So
and also, I agree with you. Like, his IQ is through the roof. All the players' IQ is through the roof.
Yeah,
Deebo Samuel, they're smart when it comes to that. It's not up to them to take the load off of them. If we run Christian McCaffrey 7 straight times, that's not their fault. They're doing what they're told to do. If they run, it's up to Kyle. Kyle has to realize that too. Like, Christian just ran 7 straight plays. I need to give him a break. Now, the defense has to occupy him when he's on the field, but if he's on the sideline, they can go to Deebo, and I can't do nothing with Deebo. But if he's on the field, I can give him a break in his play and go to Deebo 2 or 3 times, or Ayuk, or
I could run an entire drive that has nothing to do with C-Mac, but him being on the field changes the offense.
Scary. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that's what people are like. We need more Mason, which we do. I agree, like 1,000%. We do need more Mason. But when you take Mason off the field, you take a lot of pressure off the defense. When you put Mason on the field, you take a lot of pressure off the defense.
We might give out 5 yards, but they're not possible home run and that running back. That's their thought process. Even though, Mason did catch Seattle off guard at the end of that game last week, but that's one of those things though. He's capable of doing that, but he hasn't put in that fear in the defenses, like you said, for them to be like, okay, now we have to account for where he's at on the field. They hand the ball off, and out of blocking, we get 50 yards. They can't help that. Like, fuck, we got blocked. You know what I mean? Like, as a defense, you chalk it up to them. They beat us. But when a C-Mac thing happens, and we're like, even if we win the battle on the field, C-Mac can still make a person miss or do something different, where he could still take a play that should have been negative or should have been 5 yards and take it to 50 yards. Deebo, Kittle, all these guys can do that. So
he could do it in the pass game. He could do it in the run game. He could do it on anything. Any play that C-Mac is on the field is scary. But play, when Mason's on the field, it's like, oh, they're going to run it with him. Or we just got to worry about everybody else, because they're not going to pass it to him. Or he hasn't shown the capability of receiving the same way that C-Mac has. Right?
Yeah, that's why I'm a little more excited about it. That's why I'm a little bit more excited about Mitchell, because I feel like there's enough tape on Mitchell for defenses to have to account for him too. So I'm really hoping he comes back healthy and solid. And don't get me wrong, Mason, like I said, Mason's playing great. He looks good, but like we're saying,
I would personally like to see C-Mac get 12 to 15 carries, Mitchell get 5 to 8 carries, and Mason get 5 to 8
It's still Mason,
carries.
Get him in. Like you said, those closing drives when we're at. When the game's already going away at this point, Mitchell and Mason are more than capable of carrying that load. You know what I mean? And like you said, for me, I think Mitchell, at least there's enough film from last year in the passing and the run game to at least think about accounting for him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he was the main pass catcher in the NFC Championship game.
That's what I'm saying. So yeah. So.
Well, we didn't get to any of our topics yet, so let's go jump into one real quick.
All right,
let's start with, since we were talking about, before we got on, we were talking about the quarterback situation. So let's start with Purdy and the quarterback situation. So is he the franchise? I think, personally, if he wins out and wins 2 playoff games, gets to the NFC Championship game, I feel like he should have the leg up on Lance. Experience. I feel like he has a lot of experience, and if he wins out, like he's gonna have playoff experience. He's gonna have really, really prime time experience. Like he's already got that. So like I feel personally that he should be the starter until beaten. If he wins out and goes and wins a couple playoff games, I feel like Jimmy G. I love you, dude. Like, I have your jersey. I bought your jersey.
Yeah, he's on his way. Thank you for your services. We love you, and then Santa Clara. You know,
I feel like Indianapolis needs a great quarterback, and you should go to Indianapolis because I feel like they'll win with you personally, or the Jets.
Them are the Jets.
But that's my thought. I feel like I'm not sure he's the franchise quarterback, but I definitely think if he wins out and wins a couple games in the playoffs, he should have the leg up on the starting position next year. Yeah, I don't even know if you give him an opportunity. I just feel like if Trey Lance doesn't show you like, oh yeah, I am the franchise quarterback, and here's why. I feel like if he doesn't show you that, and they're like even, like in practice, you got to go with Purdy because Purdy's shown us like in 3 games, like he's like, yo, he came in the Miami game against a team that was hot. They won like 5 straight games or whatever. Great offense. Decent defense, not great, but decent defense.
And at the beginning of the game, before the game was even going, so people were like, "Oh, you know, he came in and
after the 75-yard touchdown, yeah." So like, he comes in and leads us to victory. Like, I don't know. I feel like he showed, and then he comes the next week, plays Brady. Like that's a lot of pressure on a quarterback. Like I know you're not playing against Brady 1-on-1, but like that's a lot of pressure. You got to live up to that. Like they've asked him all week, you're playing against the greatest? How do you feel? And then he comes in and fucking puts on a show. And then last week,
with the straight face,
every 49er fan in the history of 49er fans knows like going to fucking Seattle is rough. And he went in there, was poised as hell, won the game. Apparently, he couldn't even barely move before the game. Like, dude has my respect for shit. I think he's the starter.
Yeah,
If he wins the Super Bowl, I feel like he has like a 2 or 3 year leash. I feel like he might be the starter going forward for a while. But if he doesn't win the Super Bowl and wins a couple playoff games, I feel like he should be, like in position to be the starter next year. Unless Trey Lance comes back and is like, yo, I am that guy that you guys drafted. And here's why.
Yeah, my thought process on this. All right, so we talked about it at one of our podcasts about winning the team. If he goes and wins a couple of playoff games, he's gonna win that team. Like there's no way the team's already like you could see it in their demeanor, you see it the way that they play, you can see it in the way that they function. Like he's winning people over. You know what I mean? And obviously you win games like you do that anyways. But if he goes and wins a couple of playoff games, he's gonna have a lot of those players pulling for him. And Trey, even though like everybody was excited for Trey, I think the team was excited for Trey. We even talked about it. You could kind of still tell that Jimmy had that team. He had the team when Trey came in. He never really lost the team, and then Trey got hurt. Jimmy came back in, and the team fell right back into Jimmy's our guy. This is our man. You know what I mean? So I think a lot goes for the locker room, and it says a lot to what guy should be given that quarterback spot. We were questioning it, and you had even mentioned it. Like Trey hasn't won over the guys that he needs to win over to get that team on board and get them to go with Trey as the guy and feel comfortable with Trey as that guy. So you go in, you win out. Even if you don't win out, but we win. We've won some big games. We win in playoffs. Even if we win a couple of games, don't go to the Super Bowl. If we go to the Super Bowl, I agree. I think you go in at Purdy as QB1, Trey as QB2. Now, if he goes out and Purdy's struggling and Trey goes back in and starts performing, same thought process you go with any quarterback at that point. But you have to go with him almost as like the vet. He almost gets that vet like treatment at that point. If he wins a Super Bowl, he's that guy. Yeah. Like he's had the experience. He's done it. He already had more college experience coming in. You already had all that on paper, and now you got playoff experience going into away games against teams that are historically hard to play against. Performing, leading your team, and winning a championship, like you can't take it away from them at that point. You look inconsistent.
The only negative I heard on Purdy is his arm strength.
And I agree. That was one of the knocks for me. The ball sits in the air a little bit longer than I would like. A good defense with the ball sitting up in the air like that can recover. You know, the positive that he's had though is that those guys are so wide open. It didn't matter how long that ball sit up there. The ball was going to get there. Now he hits him in stride. The play looks a lot cleaner and it looks faster and definitely looks prettier. But at the end of the day, he's not really making those mistakes. He's made a couple mistakes and got bailed out by refs.
He made the one against Diggs where he dropped. Probably was a pick in 30 yards, maybe. I don't know. But the Seattle Seahawks fumbled or whatever, so it didn't really matter.
Yeah, and then the penalty that negated the interception. So I mean, there was some mistakes. I'm not saying he's perfect, but again, I said it earlier. He doesn't have to be perfect. He just has to go out there and play a good football game. So that being said, now you go in. I say he wins a couple of playoff games. You give him the QB1, you give Lance the QB2, but you go into camp and you echo that. Like, these guys are still both young. No one's definitively earned this team yet. You know what I mean? So right. I said it when Purdy came in. I felt like we should have brought in a vet. I feel like it should have been echoed to the team. Like, Purdy's going to be the guy, but we need a vet guy here to make sure, almost as a fail-safe, essentially. Like, we can't just give this young man the fucking keys to a Ferrari and tell him take it. Take it for a joyride. But we did it. It's worked out. So I will be one of the first people to admit when I'm wrong. I was wrong. Purdy knows what he's doing. Shanahan knows what he's doing. Purdy, and I didn't really consider the fact that Purdy had that many 4 years starting in college. Yeah, like he played against Oklahoma. He's played against some big schools.
And he was like the captain. He was playing the NFL system. He was the captain. Like, he wasn't just playing games. He was like making calls. He was doing all this stuff, and he was leading a program. So he has a lot of
and a lot goes to say why they didn't go get a vet in the first place. After knowing Jimmy's history with injuries, the fact that they left him as the number 2 and didn't go out and try to grab somebody else told me. And now that at the time, I was nervous. Obviously, you don't ever want to put in a rookie, Mr. Irrelevant, and
I was sitting right next to you. I was nervous.
Yeah. So I'm like, no Niner fan. Yeah, no Niner fan in the world. I don't care any. There's a lot of Niner fans that will blindly follow the Niners, and that's fine. I respect them. All faithful are faithful. Period. So respect you guys, but no football fan looked at that and was comfortable with that scenario. Now it being 2 weeks in, me seeing Purdy's poise, me seeing Purdy's confidence, me seeing how like he goes and he scores and he's happy, he's smiling, he's celebrating with the team, and he goes right back to the sideline and he's looking at the tablet. He's paying attention and he's learning as he's going throughout the game, and he's not letting the moment be too big for him, and that to me speaks a lot to his maturity and to what he's capable and what he's ready for at this point in his career. So you go into the off season, like, yeah, Purdy wins a couple of playoff games. He's QB1. Like, Trey as a young kid, sure, that's going to be a little bit demoralizing, but the same concept of the keys with the Ferrari, same shit goes for Trey. Like, I felt the same way about Trey. I don't feel like he should have been handed those keys, and that's what the coach has to tell him. Look, you're our guy. We went out and we got you. We want you to be our guy, but you still got to earn that spot. You're not just going to get the keys handed to you. Purdy's played well. This team loves him. Your teammates are confident and want this guy as their guy. You got to earn that locker room back. You got to win that team back. You got to go out there and show them that you're the guy over this guy. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, like,
and it's hard for me. Like, the only person that was like a Trey guy was Ayuk, and Ayuk is sticking up harder now for Purdy. Like, I don't even know that he's a Trey guy anymore. He might be a Purdy guy.
He might be.
The only one that is stuck on his quarterback is George. George is stuck on Jimmy. Did you see the interview where he was wearing that?
He had
like, he might be, and I'm not sure how the locker room feels about it, but he might be pushing himself out of the locker room because of the way he's doing what he's doing. Like, he is.
And in all honesty, I love George Kittle. I love George Kittle. Dude's talented, and he's funny, and he's a good personality to have in the locker room. But at this point, if we turn the page, right, and Jimmy's gone. Like that dude has to. He's like an ex-girlfriend trying to hold on to her boyfriend. Like, dude, Jimmy's gone. He's gone. It's sailed. The ship is sailed. So
the jawline is perfect.
Yeah, right. Like, and I get it. Like everybody loves Jimmy, this porno star Jimmy, But at the end of the day, like you have to, as a professional athlete, and he's said it. He's came out there and said, like, it's football. We gotta do. But his actions are kind of speaking the other way. So I agree. I think at some point Shanahan has to say, like, look, we need you. We need you as a vet on this team, as a star on this team, as the guy, one of the guys that your word means a lot. You need to go out there. You need to do your part to do that. And if you can't get on board, like, we have other tight ends. Like, I hate to say that, and I hate to put it like that, but tight end isn't a position. He's not. So he's a better tight end. He's better tight end than Kelsey, but he's not Kelsey. Like that. At the end of the day, he doesn't. Yeah, he doesn't change drastically the team the way Kelsey does. Kelsey's off the field. That whole team looks different. Yeah, not with who we have on this team. I think he could make a difference anywhere. He's like I said, best tight end in the league. I've said it from day one because the tight end is across the board. You got to block, you got to run routes, you got to catch balls, you got to do all this kind of stuff. So he's not. I'm not saying anything. He still deserves to be called the best tight end, maybe in history. Once it's all said and done. That being said, he doesn't add the amount of value that Kelsey does as far as weapons go. He adds value in the blocking. He adds value in the run after the catch. He has all that kind of stuff. So he's definitely something that we want on our team. So that's what Shanahan needs to know. We want you on this team. We want you to be that guy on the team for the rest of your career. But to do that, you got to help this locker room feel comfortable with their quarterback. You're not doing that at this point. So if he's not,
almost the biggest. He's like the biggest hurdle, almost like.
Yeah. So and if he's not ready to get on board, we can get some. We can get some valuable. We can get some valuable.
Obviously. Yeah. Jimmy got hurt, but none of them are like. No one is like. No one has talked about Jimmy in 2 weeks except George. George Kittle has talked about Jimmy on national television. Like, bro, like. And what Purdy did was like perfect. He was just like, hey, how do you feel about this guy? Like, I love George. He's awesome. He's funny, but he doesn't know when to shut the fuck up. I'm just like, yes, no, he doesn't. And you're right.
You're right.
Like he did it in such a professional way, in a way that like George couldn't say nothing. Like, oh yeah, like you're absolutely right.
And even if they go behind closed doors, Purdy can tell him straight up, like. Dude, you have to get on board. We're all trying to do the same thing here. We all want to accomplish the same thing, and that's a championship. I'm not trying to make millions of dollars. This isn't my contract year. Like, I'm here to win games. That's all I could do at this point. We got to get on board, and we got to win some games together. You know what I mean? Like, and Purdy, I think, has earned enough of that locker room's respect to have that. Like, they've all said it. Like, he's at practice yelling at fucking people and telling people, like, get to your spot. Let's go. Like, yeah, probably, and that's what I'm saying. At some point now, and again, he's our guy. He's our guy for the rest of the season. There's no question he's going to be our guy for the rest of the season. Unless some crazy thing happens, knock on wood, he's our guy. So George has to get on board. And he's playing well, and he's benefiting from it. That's the crazy thing. Like, he's getting more yards and more targets now with Purdy at the helm than he did ever with Jimmy. So it's like, sure, you
had some season didn't even come out of Jimmy. George's best season didn't even come with Jimmy. It came with fucking Mullins. Like,
Mullins, yeah.
I agree.
So
I agree with you.
It's one of those things, like, I get it. You go to the trenches, you go into war. They went to that New Orleans game together. Like, they've been through some shit, and I get it. He's your boy. Be best friends outside of work. You know what I mean? Like, go get some beers after work and talk about Jimmy winning games over in New York or fucking in wherever. Go have fun. Go celebrate with him. You know what I mean? But when it comes back to being on the field and being in front of the media and doing that, like, you have to be on board. Or there's the door. Let's go get some draft capital and let's move on. Turn the page and good luck, man. Like, I love George Kittle. I have his jersey in my closet, and I wear George Kittle all the time. Like, you know, as a lineman and a tight end, watching him play is a thing of beauty. But at the same time, our team trumps how I feel about this individual person. That's how he has to be the same way. This team has to trump the feeling you have about Jimmy. So
I agree, 1,000%. But
off my soapbox there.
The thing that made Brock Purdy is the number one defense he had to play for 13 weeks prior to playing in a real NFL game. They're still number one. There's only two games that teams have scored over 20. That was the game where everybody was fucking injured, and we played the Falcons in Atlanta on the second game of a back-to-back on the East Coast. And then there's the other game right after that where everybody was still injured except Bosa, except Warner, and except Greenlaw. And we played the Chiefs. And Ward, I think. Mooney Ward was there too.
Yeah, I think he got hurt. I think he went out in that game, though.
Did he go out? I know. Jimmy played the first snap and then broke his hand.
He went out, but yeah, then Ward went out. I think in like the third quarter or something like that. Second, third quarter was out for the majority of the game.
And they scored a 40-burger on us. Other than that, no one has scored over 20 points. I think we've held teams to under 13 points in the last 5 weeks. We have
5 out of the
5 weeks. We have 5 weeks of of 0 point games in the second half. We have a shutout in the middle of that. We might get another shutout coming up. I'm not sure. This might be a shutout this week, unless the offense gives up the scores. I don't know. There's just so many things that are being said about the 49ers. Dante Whitner recently on the 49ers pregame or postgame, I don't remember which one it was, stated that this might be the greatest 49ers defense ever, which is kind of a big deal because he was on one of those great defenses. And then for him to be like, yeah, this is one of the greatest ever is kind of that means a lot because if I was on that defense that he was on in 2012, I would never say that. I would never ever say that this is the greatest defense ever because that defense that they were on was fucking scary. However, I understood his points too because the rule changes, everything has changed, and they're still dominating offenses, and it's I get your point.
It's an offensive friendly league, right? They want points scored, and in a time where they want points scored, we're not allowing points to be scored. So that's where you talk back to the 2000 Ravens, and everyone's like, oh, this team's not as good as these defenses. Well, eras matter. Everyone talks about that. You played in different areas, you played different things. If Montana had the rules that Brady had, all that kind of stuff. We can go down the line and talk about different areas. But the fact of the matter is you got a defense playing at the Ravens caliber defense, yardage allowed, points allowed, all these things allowed. They're minimizing it across the board in a league that's putting up 400 plus yards in passing yards a game. You know what I mean? In a league that allows 600 total offensive yards in a game, you're looking at games consistently every week that are going 30 plus, 40 plus points from both teams. So
the Colts scored 30 in the first half, and then the Vikings scored 30 in the second half.
Exactly. So that's my thing. So when you look at all of the variables, right? You're playing in a league that the refs want offenses to score points. The NFL wants offenses to score points. Every rule favors offensive players, and then you get that, and you take that, and now you're on this type of defense. You're doing what you're doing, historic numbers, and putting up the stuff that you're putting up. Yeah, sure, we've had some point. Yeah, everyone wants to point out the games that we struggled in, but then again, like we said, half the team was hurt, statistically speaking, when we're healthy, because in the first couple of games before we were unhealthy, we were doing the same thing. When we had E-Man and we had Ward and we were shutting teams down the same way. So it's as far as if you look at roster and statistics, we've done this all year. Including those games that we had the issues with, because the games we had the issues with, we weren't fully healthy. But when we had everybody on the field, which again, it's a football, everyone gets hurt, every team's hurt. Mm-hmm. But when you're losing 80% of your starters, that's difference between being hurt and being a whole different defense. You're a whole different personnel out there, completely.
I agree. I said this, I think, when Torres was on the podcast right before we went to Carolina. I told him, I was like, in 3 weeks we play the Chiefs. If we play the Chiefs and our defense is fully healthy, I don't have any fear that they'll score over 20 points. We weren't healthy, and they scored 40 points. There was just no health. Everybody was hurt. Defensive line was hurt. Eric Armstead didn't come. It wasn't playing. Ed Buchanan wasn't playing.
8 out of 11 starters were injured in that game. So
and then at the end of the day, I still feel to this day, if E-Man didn't get hurt, I do feel like this defense would be 2000 Ravens scary.
Easy. Like, and even then, I still think we're at that level only because we're hitting at all levels of the defense. That's to me what separates this defense from the 2012 defense. We were the 2012 defense was fun. Like they were exciting to watch. They hit. They smack. I watched highlights the other day and I was getting excited because seeing all the hits and seeing all these people flying around and getting beat up and standing up and they're hurt. they're shaking. You got Willis bending people back and. That was fun to watch. It was probably the most exciting defense. So you look at exciting versus statistically best defense ever. This team, I think, is this defense across the board is talent. They're elite at every position on the field. Even with Emad out of the game, we're still shutting receivers down with those corners. So that tells you right there, safety level, corner level, DBs, linemen, linebackers, every level across the board. You can't say that we have a weak point at this point in the year, and that's where it separates a good defense versus a great defense is when you're hitting on all levels of the field. So, in my opinion, best defense. 2012 is the most exciting defense. 2012 was probably the most talented defense individually across the board. I would maybe go there.
What about the 94? What about the 94 defense?
Also, I would say that defense was probably the most. I don't know.
The only player that obviously we think about off of that team was Deion Sanders because he was the vocal point of the big. Yeah. He was defensive player of the year that year. And he had 3 interceptions for touchdowns that year. Obviously, that's the player we think of when it first comes to 94, but that defense was. They held people.
I would say they were the most disciplined defense that we probably ever had. Everybody did their job and they did it extremely well. You know what I mean? So
and like Whitner said, they were playing in an era where you can smack a receiver going over the middle. You can't do that stuff. You can't hit the quarterback specifically this year. Obviously, look at the game. Last week should have been 30. Actually, I feel like last week should have been a 40-point game. The Bosa pick six, that was there was a play where Purdy hit Ayuk on 3rd and 6 right in their hands, and Ayuk dropped it.
Yeah, he dropped it. Ayuk still struggles on the easy catches and catching the balls he couldn't be catching. But
that was another one where it was all right, you were gone, bro. There was no one there. And he probably thought he probably knew that. He probably was like, "Oh, I'm gone." And
I seen some of the analysts saying "Oh yeah, they only put up 20 points against Seattle and Dallas put it." I was like, "You do realize we could have scored at the end of the game, right? We took the gentleman. We were gonna kneel and we're gonna end the game. We could have scored easy there. That's 7 points off the board. You got 7 points off the board with that whack ass roughing penalty call. It goes from 20 to 40 points real quick. You know what I mean?
So we scored 23, right?
23 points. So that's 14 off the board. That's at the very least 37. And then if you get that catch, at the very least you get a 3 points out of that. So you're looking at a 40-point game. That it should have been a 40-point game. So
I agree.
They can say what they want to say.
It should have been easily a 30-point game. There should be no we're on the 1 yard line. We kneeled at the 1 yard line 3 times when we end the game.
Yeah, we could have scored.
I wish we didn't do it because I hate the Seahawks and it's a rival game. Fuck them, put it up. And apparently one of the tiebreakers in the NFL now is point differential.
It was points. Yeah, we knew that we locked that up regardless of how the outcome of the rest of the season came out. So I get you start to get questions, that whole Pete Carroll, you're an asshole type of scenario where running scores up and stuff. So I get it. I was cool with it. Seattle, we hate those guys, and I'll always forever hate Seattle, but they're really not. And I've said it. We're the best in the West, in the NFC West, and it's not even close. It's not even. There's a huge gap. Yeah, there's a huge gap between the rest of the NFC West and the Niners. So at the end of the day, it's not the rivalry that it once was, and I wasn't as let's put our foot on their throat. Now, if Sherman was still on that team and he was still running his mouth, like he did back in the day. Like that'd be the story. Like,
he was on the sideline, but he was like, I don't know, I'm going for both teams because I played on both teams. He's a big 49er guy though.
He's a huge 49er guy, but he understands
Juice hit him
football.
Up before the game. Was like, "Are you here for us or are you here for them?" And he was like, "Have you not been listening to my podcast?" And he's like, "No, I haven't." He's like, "Man, that's all I talk about is the 49ers. You guys are the best team in the league." All right, cool. Which he does say that. I listen to him. He does say that, and he kept saying
when his football IQ though, he understands.
Yeah. And he kept saying this defense is scary. He's like, this defense, and he calls Nick Bosa by his whole damn government name. And he's like, this defense is great. He's the defensive player of the year. But Eric Armstead ain't here yet. When he comes back, it's going to get real bad. And I didn't understand what he meant, but now it's like, oh shit. Like, Nick Bosa has free reign to the quarterback now, and he's always going to get a sack, like a sack a game pretty much. So he has free reign to the quarterback now because he's only getting single team. He gets a chip block every once in a while.
Yeah, you look at the tweet.
I don't know. It's just scary, man.
It's funny because like even Berto in the text message chain, right? He's texting like after the first 2 drives, and he's like, "This game's about to get out of hand." Like you have that sense of you start to just look at these drives, and you're like, "This game is gonna go completely horribly wrong for that other team. They're not going to do a damn thing, and we're going to move the ball at will. It's going to be bad, and that's how I feel. That's why I said it pisses the opposing teams off because they go into that game feeling that exact same thing. They're just like, this is what we're in store for the rest of the game. Like fuck. I don't know what I want to.
And it's like you see it, and it's like okay, Tua was like. 74% completion percentage before he came to San Francisco, and they made him look terrible. They made him look like the worst quarterback in the NFL. And then
he looked like Mariota.
And Tom Brady hasn't looked great all season, but they made Tom Brady look.
He's still Tom.
Like I could have went out there and did what Tom Brady did. That's what they made it seem like. Like he was terrible. And then the next week it's Geno Smith, who's the second best percentage quarterback in the NFL, and he's just trying to throw the ball into the ground because he's so scared of what's around him. Like
statistically speaking, he's having the best season of any quarterback in the NFL. So you technically playing the best quarterback in the NFL, and he's throwing it into the ground like just to avoid.
He's scared.
Yeah, just to avoid being hit.
There was 2 times he did it, and there was no one even around him. Like it was just steps.
He threw it into the ground.
I don't do this.
Yeah, I'm not gonna try to run. I'm not gonna try to make anybody miss because I know if I do that, there's 10 other people swarming around me right after that point. So that's why
I don't think the running backs want to catch the ball out of the backfield because then they know Dre Greenlaw's coming and he's a heat-seeking missile.
And they're gonna get dipped into the ground every time they get hit by that guy. So.
And then now we got 2 players. We got Warner and Hufunga who are good at blitzing, and it's like they're good at disguising what they're doing, and then they blitz, and it's like they're free.
And you could throw Ward out there too, dude. That dude's a pretty good blitzer. I've watched him make quarterbacks like he doesn't usually get the sack out of the blitz, but he's forcing quarterbacks to completely. He's forcing the quarterbacks to completely bail out of the backfield, and then at that point you're allowing Bosa's and other guys to get there and make those plays. But yeah, I've seen him go back there and untouched, he just slides right on the tackle. Yeah,
he's like one of the better nickelbacks the last 3 weeks. So it's like I don't even like the defense looks scary. I don't know. The only weak link is
our second
on the right side and the other side, but he's holding his own.
He's playing at a high level.
Last year they were attacking Ambry Thomas. Like, everybody was like, we're going to go at this guy. But this year it's like, we can't go at that guy. That guy's still good enough to like get a pick and take it to the house.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I think the defense is scary. I do agree with Whitner. I do think it's the best defense of the 49ers eras. The 49ers defenses.
Yes. 2012 was the most fun, most exciting, probably the hardest hitting defense by far. And individually, I think they have a better player on all levels that are probably better than the ones that we have on this defense. You got a middle linebacker, Patrick Willis, is better than Warner. You got Justin Smith, who's better than Eric Armstead. So you have guys on that team for sure individually that are better than the guys, but as a whole defense, like I don't think we've had a defense like this ever in the past. And
the worst part for the league is this whole defense is young, except Gibson and Ward.
And they're locked in. So
yeah. That's the worst part for this, like the league. Like this defense is going to get better because they're going to get smarter.
They're just going to get more chemistry and more comfortable, and Nico's going to go off and do something, but then they're going to get another defensive coordinator in there because Shanahan knows how to bring in coaches apparently. So
Vic Fangio is on the coaching roster.
I've seen that. Yeah,
I feel like he's going to be our next coordinator, which is fine. He's a good coordinator. He was the coordinator of that defense. And at what point? Because we almost got Sue. He picked Eagles over us because of the quarterback situation. However, at some point, teams' defensive players are going to be like, "Yo,
I want to go play for that defense."
Gibson just signed a contract off the street, and he became a great player. Like, I just want to go play over there. I'm gonna go play
defensive
over there.
linemen. For sure, defensive linemen around the league are like, I want to go play for that fucking team. That Abel Combs came out and said it. Amanahu's came out and said it. This defense is that's so defensive lineman friendly. You can go out there and do what you were told to do as a kid, like get after the ball, do your thing, and it allows you to excel as a defensive lineman. So for sure, there's defensive linemen out there, and safeties, I'm sure, around the league are like, these guys are kind of old at a couple of those positions. I could slide in there and join the number one defense in the league. Like, shit, sign me up. So,
and it's like there's always one. So, like, what last year was, who was last year? Who was the defensive tackle last year? Key. It was Key, Arden Key. Signed from the Raiders. The year before that was Kerry Hyder. Then he went to the Seahawks. And there's always one player that we sign randomly at the end, and then they become a good player and gets paid.
Yeah, and then they go get signed.
Literally, we signed Gibson like the last 2 weeks of camp, and then look at him. He's fucking a pro. He should be a Pro Bowler because that dude's been off.
He should be
all season.
Yeah.
But speaking of number one seed is up for grabs still because Hurts is hurt. I don't know if he's going to play. Even if he does play, the next 3 games they have are tough. They have Dallas, which I don't think he's playing this week, and I think Dallas will beat them, I think, without Hurts. And then they got the Saints, who have a good defense. It's going to put a lot of pressure on them.
Defense,
yeah. And then they have a terrible offense though, but they have a good defense. So and anything can happen in the offensive side. And then they have the Giants, the last game of the season, who could be fighting for a playoff position. So they will be out there fighting hard.
Yeah, now they're trying to win.
They could easily lose the next 3 games, especially if Hurts isn't playing. What do you think? I think Hurts will play if
the number one seed if the number one seed's on the line, I think he'll play. I think, or he might not even play the Giants game. He might come back early, play the game that they should win, the Saints game, and then rest for the Giants game once they lock in that number one seed. So I can see that happening.
They're locked in for the division yet, are they? Are they locked in for the division?
No, they haven't won the division either. They haven't clinched it yet. So that's what I mean.
How many losses? Dallas has 4 losses.
Yeah, they're 11-4.
Okay, so yeah, they're not even clinched there.
Same.
So,
it's what I'm saying. So realistically, like, I think we play for it until we're eliminated from it, right? Until they tell us, okay, the Eagles win one more game, okay, they locked in the number one seed, game over, whatever. All right, at that point, I feel like we shouldn't fight for the 2 seed. As much as I would love to see the Niners play at home, none of these teams in the NFC are really difficult to play on the road against. They're not teams like...
Is Minnesota indoor?
Yes. No.
Is it indoor?
I don't know. I've seen some. Yeah. So that would suck. I mean,
I'd rather play San Francisco.
I don't know that we even end up playing Minnesota. I don't think Minnesota gets out the first round, to be honest. But that's just.
They play Brady, huh?
Yeah, they're gonna play against a team that's either red hot or a team that has a stud. I think they'll play.
Brady will play.
Yeah, they will play.
Brady will play because they're gonna win that
2 seed. Oh yeah, yeah. Bucks are gonna win the division. So They'll play, but they'll play. They're either going to play an NFC East team who are all playing tough football right now, or they're going to play Detroit potentially, who's coming in red hot too. So it's one of those things where
Detroit next week, I think they play Detroit next week or week after.
Yeah. I think two. I think next week. I think not this weekend, but the following weekend.
I think. So yeah, I think they could lose 2 games too. They played a Packers
I think we can get the 2 seed. I think the 2 seed for sure. Like that's obtainable easily. I think if we went out. But the problem is, like I said, I don't know that we want the 2 seed. I don't know that I would want to play a hot Detroit right now at this point, where they're continuing to get better and better. I'd kind of be okay with the 3rd seed if we go to the 3rd seed and we play the Bucks or.
The Bucks will win the division, so that'll be a home game.
We would play against like the Giants or
the Commanders.
Yeah,
would destroy. I kind of hope the Giants and the Commanders make. But the Commanders aren't going to make it because they're going to lose this week.
Yeah, but I would like to have home field advantage and get a bye. So I mean, if the 1 seed's on the table, I think we play for it. I think once the 1 seed's off the table, I think at that point we're already locked in at number 3. Like let's just call it a year. Not call it a year. I think we still have to play out at least a few quarters a game, just because you don't want to rest the wheels. You don't want to rest. You don't want to rest the wheels right before the playoffs. So, you still have to kind of keep playing. He doesn't. I know Shanahan's not a big guy about resting people and sitting people, that kind of stuff. So I think we still have to play. But I don't know that we play the same.
I don't think we have to play I don't think that we have to go balls to the wall and win the next 3.
No, that's what I mean. Yeah, no, I don't think so either.
The Commanders. I think the Commanders will be over in the first half. I don't know who we play the next week, and then we play the Cardinals the last game. The Raiders might be the only team that we have to like.
And that depends. If they eliminate themselves this next week out of the playoffs, we may not. That may not be a game. What's the point at that point for them? I wouldn't be starting my starters. If I'm McDaniels, if we're out of the playoffs and we have no chance, like. Start turning the page. Start seeing what your young guys got. Do whatever you got to do and lock in a high draft pick like it. So potentially these games could come out to where they're not necessary to completely compete for. But right now, I think with the number 1 seed still on the table, we have to go out there thinking, let's try to go get that number 1 seed, and then hope that a couple teams could pull out some L's against the Eagles. So
I honestly think that the Eagles could lose at least 2 of these next 3, and the only one I think I see them like being able to easily win if Hurts plays is New Orleans. But that defense is good. It's a good run defense, and the Eagles are not a good pass offense. They're a good run offense, and they're not even a good run offense. They're a good Jalen Hurts offense. Without Jalen Hurts, that's not the same.
That whole offense runs through Hurts, and if he's playing hurt, that even if he plays, playing hurt isn't going to be fun for him. So.
I have the Eagles running back on my fantasy team, and that dude has had 2 good games because I benched him twice. I benched him, and every time I bench him, he goes for like 30. But Hurts is the guy. Hurts is going to run the ball. Like he runs the ball a lot, and then that opens up the pass game because you have to spy him. The 49ers, I don't think would have to spy him because they
our defensive line is good enough. They don't get out of their lane. Yeah.
I don't know. I think they could lose these next 3 games. We'll see. I don't even know how bad it is because it's like they're very quiet on it. They said he might play against Dallas. If you have a sprain,
I also heard reports the injury could linger all the way through the first round. So we'll see what happens. But there's differentiating reports. Some reports are saying he could play this week. Some reports are saying he might not play the rest of the regular season. So I think it's all going to be dependent on what's on the line. Yeah, it's his actual arm. So
if it was
granted, he doesn't have to throw very much. So they might run with the whole we're going to run our offense the way we're running it, and But
I mean, he still throws for like 200-300 yards a game though. But that's just because.
But that's because again, they opened it up. Yeah.
But if he can't throw, then his running ability you just kind of step that.
Yeah,
Stop that.
you throw people in the box. Throw people in the box and say, "Go ahead, throw it."
I know. I just want to point out, like 3, 4 weeks ago, I think it was 4 or 5 weeks ago. Actually, I said in our text group, I said, "Hey, here comes the win streak, and the Niners are going to be the number 1 seed." And then Berto, he never gets on here, but he was talking shit, and we ain't lost since.
He always. I think
I don't
he.
know that we'll lose. I don't know that we'll lose the rest of the season.
I don't feel. They're 3 winnable games for sure. They're not games where I'm like, man, damn. I'm going to go in that game like kind of nervous. I think it come the third game if we're. I'm not nervous against the Cardinals. I'm not nervous against Washington. That being said, those are trap games happening in the NFL. It's any given Sunday, so I'm not going to say we're going to guarantee win those games. But the only game that I would be. They're too good.
Yeah.
They're fucking good. So
I know. I just see like there is trap games, right? I feel like the Atlanta Falcons game was a trap game. Like
100%.
Came in, everybody was hurt, and then the Chiefs game, coming off of everything, injuries, travel, not a trap game, but
first week was T-Mac. Yeah, we weren't ready for that.
There was a lot of changes. Everything was going through everybody's head. You see why we lost that game.
Yeah.
I just don't. I see when I look at the 49ers defense, I don't see a player on that defense that I'm like, I kind of worry about his head. Like, where's he at? I don't see him. Like, everybody's locked in. They're always locked in. They hold each other accountable. Like, those are the best teams. Like, the best defenses in the league. Like, the Ray Lewis teams always held each other accountable. Like, that's when they were so great. Like, you had the 49ers teams. You had two linebackers and a safety that was holding everybody accountable. Like, and a D lineman. Like,
that's what I'm saying. You got leaders on all levels that can echo that same message. That's what makes it.
Yeah. So like the Dallas Cowboys, for instance, like I see their team, and I'm just like, you got Diggs, who you don't know what he's going to do on a play-to-play basis. He might jump a route and the player end up wide open. So, I don't know. They have too many question marks and for me to say that they're a great defense. Like they have a lot of
they've shown it.
Individual players.
You're in a tournament season, right? So it's not like the Niners when we gave it the points. It was early in the season where we're still trying to figure out what we're doing. Right at that point, we have a new quarterback coming in. Not new, but Jimmy coming in. Players hurt. Right now, this is the time that Dallas needs to be winning. This is the time they're supposed to be making those statements saying, we're the fucking team. We're a team in the NFC. You guys got to look at us and pay attention to us. This is their opportunity to do that, and they're not doing it. So that's my thing is it's not that they're winning the games, and they lost a game, though, and it's like you're allowing the 30-plus points, you're doing all this kind of stuff. Like, if you're the number 1 defense in the league, these are those games that you have to make those statements in, and you can't go out, allow 30 points, and even if you skate by and you win the game, sure, you got the dub, but these are those times where you're supposed to be putting that stamp on your name and saying, like, yeah, we're the fucking team. Like, that's what Eagles are doing. Mm-hmm. That's what the Niners are doing. The teams that you are the best in the NFC are going out there and saying, we're fucking here. Dallas, to me, hasn't done that at all this season, especially right now in a time where it's that final stretch. This is that time to make those statements, and they're not doing it. So that's to me what separates them from the rest of the not the rest. I still think they're top 3, Niners and Eagles being 1 and 2, but they're not that far in front of Minnesota. They're not that far in front of, you know what I mean? Like even they're drastically in front of NFC South for sure. Everybody is, but outside of that, like you can't argue and talk every week like, yeah, we have the best defense in the league. Like we have Micah Parsons and we got Dak. We're putting up 50 points and both of our running backs are getting 2 touchdowns. Like none of that matters because you guys should be definitively going out there and making statements. The way the Eagles are doing, the way the Niners are doing, you're not doing it. So,
and the only team they made a statement against is the Colts, who gave
the Colts are the Colts.
They gave up 30 points in the fourth quarter to them, and then they gave up 30 points they gave up 30 points in the fourth to them, and then they gave up 30 points the next half or second half to the Vikings. We should have saw that loss coming for the Colts. Actually, now that I think about it.
I know, but I was hopeful. I was like, it did not look good at all. Like Minnesota looked Like they shouldn't even be talked about at this point. But they won the game. So, but again, those things where they're not definitively beating teams where they're making those statements. Like, yeah, sure, you showed your toughness, you showed that you're capable of scoring 30 points and a half, but it has to be convincing. Like in the Seattle game, at no point was I like Seattle actually has a chance in this game. Like it was clear that we were the better team, and that from the time the ball snapped to that whistle at the end of the game, like we're that number one team. When the Eagles go out there and they play, to their credit, when they're beating these teams down, you have no question they're the better team on the field. Like that's the one credit I will give to the Eagles, and that's what makes them, to me, the most dangerous in the NFC who we have to play is they're going out there and doing what they're supposed to do. They're making those statements and they're letting the other team know and the rest of the NFL know, like, we're the real deal. We're here to fucking play. So
I'm trying to think. The last time I felt like the 49ers could lose a game was probably Miami at the beginning of the game when Jimmy.
Yeah, before the game started. Yeah.
But other than that, I don't think I felt like that in like the last 7 weeks.
No. All season, the only time I really felt like that was Kansas City, and that's just because at that point we were such at a down point, and Kansas City was hitting that stride. To me, that was like you said, it was a trap game in the sense of we went in there like broken, and they went in there catching their steam at that point. So it was like they were at their uphill, we were at our decline at the moment, and now we're both, in that trajectory.
I think the 49ers are still kind of going up, and I feel like the
Kansas City's plateauing for sure right now. And
if you look at the tiers, the PFF grades or PFF rankings come out all the time, and the 49ers are like way ahead. Everybody, offensively, defensively, and they're in tier 1, and no one else is in tier 1. I think the Eagles are in tier 2, and the Buffalo Bills are in tier 2, and then the Chiefs are like in tier 3. Their defense isn't that good.
For me, I think the AFC team, and I still think it's going to be the Bills and the Niners, but the only other AFC team in the thing, because they're catching their stride at the right time, is the fucking Bengals. They look good, man. They're hitting on all levels of the game. So that's another team where I'm like, if we might be on a trajectory course with them come February, but we'll see how it plays out. I still think Buffalo has just the more. Yeah, to me, Buffalo has the more ability. And
the 49ers have the best run defense, so it's like it's hard for me to look at a team and be like, oh yeah, they could definitely run on us. Like the only team that I think, if healthy, could run on us is the Ravens, and that's mostly because of Lamar Jackson. Like
and they have a serviceable running backs too. Their running backs are pretty good. Another team, I think, if they were able to keep the score close, they could run on us is the Raiders, just because Jacobs has been a fucking stud this season, but because they can't be consistent across the board, their game goes sloppy really quick, and then they get away from that what Jacobs can do, and at that point, then that turns into our game. So that's what I think will happen in our game for sure. But yeah, so yeah, I think I'm still gonna stick with the Buffalo 49ers, but Cincinnati's making their case, in my opinion. Just looking at them on the field, they look exactly like the Niners. You go out there, and at no point do you feel like this might be a close. Like this could be a game. Like Buffalo's out there just looking like, not Buffalo, Cincinnati looking like the team that beat. So
they won a lot of games in a row too, because they were like 2-4 or some shit like that.
Yeah, they were looking.
They're like 10-4 now. Get into the this week's game because we haven't got there yet.
Yeah, I know.
49ers versus Commanders. Commanders coming to Santa Clara. I don't honestly. You guys are going to the game, right? I think you guys are going to the game. I just don't see anything in this game that's like, oh man, that's kind of concerning. Okay, so when I look at it, I see the 49ers. They can win several ways. They can win passing the ball.
Mm-hmm.
They can win running the ball. They can win defensively. There's so many different ways the 49ers can beat the Commanders. The other way around, there's only one way I think the Commanders win, and that's if Brock Purdy throws multiple interceptions, fumbles the ball.
If they get pressure on Brock Purdy and Brock Purdy folds, but
and they return a couple to the house, or one at least to the house, and put one of them in scoring position. That's the only way I see that the Commanders can beat the 49ers.
Yeah.
I don't think the Commanders can beat the 49ers offensively. I don't think they're going to score more than 14 points.
No.
I don't think they. I honestly don't think that their defense is going to be good enough to hold the 49ers under 20 points unless they get that pressure on Brock Purdy.
Yeah, unless they cause some turnovers and shift the momentum quick. But it being a home game, I don't see that happening. So
I don't see that. Their defensive line is good. I'll say that. And they have
Chase Young's coming back. So
this first game back, I don't think I'm going to be worried about him too much. If he does get anything, it's going to be coming from Brock Purdy's line of sight.
Yeah.
It's not going to be coming from his blind side because he's not going to get anything on Trent Williams.
No. No,
I don't know. I just don't see this game as worrisome. Now, saying that, because we don't see that game as worrisome, the 49ers could also look at that same way and like, I don't worry about this game. We're gonna get this game.
That's where the trap game's coming. That's where trap game's coming to play. The Washington is obviously. I mean, they have wins. They're still competing for a playoff spot. They have every reason to come out here and beat us. At this point, we've already locked in the playoff spots. So complacency could happen. I don't think it happens to this team. I think the team has enough vets out there and enough, composure to know what's still at stake here. You know what I mean? So I don't see it happening, but it's possible. Like I said, any given Sunday, and the fact that the Commanders are still playing for a playoff spot and still competing, and we're at that spot point where we're not really necessarily competing anymore for a spot, like it could happen. It could happen where we don't go out there as aggressive, where Shanahan has done that in the past, where he takes his foot off the gas a little bit because we're already at a point, and we've seen that backfire on us. So I mean, it's possible, but I could see us going out there. We're still playing for the number one seed, so that's the biggest thing. It depends too. I don't know what time the Eagles play, but if they play early and it hurts don't play, and then
the Eagles. Yeah. I don't know what time they play. I think the 49ers play at 1.
No, yeah, we play at 1. But I was saying if Eagles go and they play at 10 and then they lose, that changes the mentality a little bit of going into that game. So
they play the Eagles play at 1 on Saturday. We both play at 1:00 Saturday.
So there's that. But
I was going to wait and see last minute and see if Jalen Hurts is going to play before I put in Jared Goff. But Jared Goff plays at 10 and Jalen Hurts plays at 1. So.
No, want to take that risk. I'm still mad I lost. God damn it.
I'm just like, yo, the last 6 weeks I got 200 points a week. So I was like, yo, told everybody my team was solid. Our team's still solid though, so it's all right. I think without the quarterback,
I put up 180 points. Like you put up 180 points and you lose. Like what else can you do with that? Bro, I'm like shit. Like he had as good of a game as he possibly could have.
You played against the guy I'm about to play, I think.
Yeah, David. Yeah, so we'll see. We'll see how that goes. He took down one giant, so we'll see.
Yeah, scary Terry, for 3 catches for 40 yards.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's the only thing is his matchups this week aren't as good as they were against me. So
he has Austin Eckler. He might get some points.
Yeah, he had 100 points from 3 players. So that's what won him that game against me is you get 3 players to score 100 points. All you gotta do is get 80 between the rest of the 7. Like it's not that difficult to do, but.
I mean, my defensive players outscore everybody, so it's all right.
It didn't help. Yeah, I know that's bullshit. It didn't help that JT got hurt in the first drive. I'm like, I knew it in my soul that the pin was going to drop at some point, right? And after he came back, he's been scoring. I'm like, I'm in good hands now. He's healthy. We're good. And then, sure enough, he screwed me.
Who did you bench? Because you have a lot of good running backs.
Who did I have on the bench? I don't even remember at this point. I started JT and Mixon, but who did I bench? I don't even know.
I was three or 4. You have 3 or 4 running backs. I was like, damn.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see what happens. I think if I get through this game, I think the only one I have to worry about is the championship game against 2 people I've already lost to. So.
Yeah, I know.
All right, so yeah, I don't know. This week could be scary. We'll see what happens. Like the only person that puts fear into me is Chase Young. Not even Chase Young, but the defensive line.
The defensive line, yeah.
But Brock Purdy hasn't shown me anything to worry about, so I'll be all right.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. His poise, that's the biggest thing. Is his poise under pressure has been outstanding. So, like he's taking steps up, getting away from pressure, delivering a ball as he's getting hit. Like you can't ask for more than that from a 7th round last pick of the draft.
In Seattle, on top of that.
So yeah, exactly.
Pro Bowl roster just came out yesterday. A couple snubs on the 49ers, which I thought were snubs. I think you did.
Bull crap. Christian McCaffrey has the most all-purpose yards in the league.
And he was number 1 in fan voting too. So that means the coaches and players voted him out.
Which is crap. I don't know if I don't know what they're looking at. Like he's not only is he doing that, and not only has he done that consistently for us, he's doing that on a team now with Pro Bowl players across the board. Like you have to give him the Pro Bowl just based off of that alone, and the fact that they gave it to Miles Sanders. Miles Sanders has had 2, maybe 3 solid games this year. I'm like, you really voted Miles Sanders over C-Mac, but that makes no sense.
Him and Pollard. Which Pollard has had a couple good games.
Pollard's had a couple of good games,
big plays, but
he's doing a lot, especially because he's sharing in the backfield. So I could see them making the case for him, but making the case for Miles Sanders over C-Mac, there's no way. No way.
Right? Miles Sanders starting. Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah,
Miles Sanders was starting. Yeah, and then the other player there's 2 players, 2 on defense that I feel like both got snubbed. I see why. The sexy pick is interceptions, and the other 2 players that got the starting position or the positions have a lot more interceptions. However, Tre'Davious Ward has been one of the best cornerbacks in the league this entire year.
Yeah, that's the crazy thing. You're only going to get interceptions when they throw at you, right? So that's like that's the biggest thing. And I remember who was it? I think it was Darrelle Revis. They were like, you only have 2 interceptions this year, and he's like, well, you got to get the ball thrown to you to get interceptions, yeah. And they're not throwing the ball at me because they know better. So it's one of those things where it's like you have to consider what you look at the top wide receivers he's played this year. What have they done? You know what I mean? Like
he's played D-Hop once, and D-Hop had like 75 yards or something like that. And then
he locked down DK in a must-win game for Seattle. He's locked down. Miami's the only team that I would say both receivers had a decent game, but they came from 3 broken plays. It wasn't
only one receiver had. Oh, okay. You're talking about Sherfield, who had the first play of the game, which I get that.
But Tyreek still had 170 yards in that game, though. No.
Yeah, he had 100. But
Parker was playing hurt. Parker was playing hurt that whole game, though. So I'm not. But that being said, that's what I'm saying. There was maybe one game all year that he's allowed over 100 yards receiving, like a game where you were like, okay, he shouldn't have had. But again, even then, those plays came on big broken plays. It wasn't like he was just getting beat.
I think the only play I could think of all year where he made a mistake was the Chiefs game where he got beat cover 3, he got beat deep. That was the only game I could see where he made a mistake and was like, what the fuck are you doing, guy?
Yeah.
Since then he's following the best receivers on the field. He's following D-Hop. He's following Metcalf. He's locking them up. He's
locking them down.
DK. Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know what they were thinking with that one. The 2 rookies that they picked, Gardner and Wooten, I think his name is.
Yeah.
I can't say that. Anyway, they both got more picks than Tre'Davious Ward and
Gardner's having a great season. Gardner Sauce is good. I will give Sauce that pick, but yeah.
And then the other one, kind of more obvious to us, is the Dre Greenlaw snub. I feel like that was. I don't know what people were thinking.
Yeah, that like I said, I could understand the corner thing. There's a lot of good corners in the league. It is what it is. Chalk it up to that. But there's no linebacker, including on the Niners, that's playing at the level that Greenlaw's been playing at. Yeah, so the fact that they don't, it has to be a name thing. You know what I mean? Like he hasn't been that guy for.
Who was the other linebacker that got picked? I know Fred got picked, but who was the other one?
Shit, I don't even remember. I don't remember.
does, but
neither do I. That's the point. There's no one playing as good as Greenlaw. Maybe they didn't want to put both Niner linebackers in there and make it a whole repeat of.
The only team that has it, because the Philadelphia Eagles have the second best defense. Do they have a good linebacker? Maybe.
No, I think it was just I think their corners, right? Or
yeah, they got the best
defense.
Yeah. They have the best pass defense, but I don't know who their linebacker is. I don't know who the other linebacker was. I don't know. Either way.
Parsons got selected as a DN, or did he get selected as a linebacker also?
I think he got selected as an outside linebacker. Or DN, whatever. No, I think it was that DN probably because Bosa got one DN and he got the other one probably.
Yeah.
And then I don't even know who the D tackles were. I don't know.
I think it was dude from who is it from the Falcons? I think that dude's a stud. That dude's on the wrong team, but that dude is good.
I mean, I'm complaining, but we have like 7 Pro Bowlers. We have like
we had crazy. We had the most votes for every player like out there. So
we had Trent Williams, George Kittle, and Juice on the offensive side, and then on the defensive side, we had Bosa, Rhett Warner, Huff, and that was it. Is that it? Maybe that's it. So we have 6 Pro Bowlers.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
6 Pro Bowlers, and I'm complaining about 3. I like to see the whole fucking team get picked, so I'm gonna complain, whatever.
The whole defense for sure. You can't argue that. Like,
I feel like those 3 were super deserving. Like I don't even 2 of them for sure should have. There's no question.
Greenlaw, there's a definitive like this dude's the best linebacker, but been the best linebacker in the league this year. But I could see the arguments on the other ones, but Greenlaw's for sure. That's a snub.
I don't see the argument.
And the C-Mac.
Yeah, I don't see that argument. I see the argument on Ward. I do see the argument on Ward, but I don't see the argument on CMC.
I don't see one on CMC or on Greenlaw. Those 2 are for sure snubs. So
unless they're holding the time he was with the Panthers against them, maybe I don't know because they weren't winning. I don't know.
His all-purpose yards are still there. We're not talking about. We're talking about winning and losses. Then there better not be nobody on there from a lot of teams. You know what I mean? Like, we're talking about best in their position. We're not. I'm sure Buffett got selected to the goddamn Pro Bowl and they're 4 and whatever. So
I feel like CMC is like put his name in the hat for Offensive Player of the Year because he's literally offensive.
He's definitely put his name out there.
Now, not talking about Pro Bowls, but talking about Rookie of the Year. Do you think Purdy wins out? He's up for Rookie of the Year. He's only played 7 games, something like that.
Maybe I don't know. I think
they're going to quarterback. But
they're going to get. I think they're going to snub him. They're going to give it to a defensive player or something.
No, for offensive Rookie of the Year.
Offensive Rookie of the Year.
Because there was is Amon-Ra? He's a rookie, right?
No, he came out last year.
Okay. Olave is a rookie.
Olave, but you can't. I don't know. You can't give it to a wide receiver unless their team's like he's dominating and their team's smashing. But that's my thing. I don't know. I don't really know very many offensive rookies this year that are balling out like that. Like a tackle or something maybe, but like
Watkins.
Yeah.
He had like a stretch where he was killing. He had like 10 touchdowns in 5 games. That was pretty rough.
Yeah, but even then, like you have to look at the season longevity. You know what I mean? So like the whole time they played, did they perform? You know,
like 8 games. He only played like 8 games or 9 games too, though.
Yeah,
because he was hurt the whole season. I don't know. I was thinking about it, or I heard somebody talking about it, and I was just like, "That's interesting." I never thought about it. I don't know if he wins out. It could be.
He might. If he wins a Super Bowl, I don't see how they could argue. There's a better rookie out there. Like,
I don't either. And then I don't even know who would be defensive rookie of the year. Is there anybody that's been like hella good?
Sauce.
Oh yeah. Okay, never mind. Yeah, and the corner from Seattle. That's right.
Yeah.
I guess. Oh yeah. Sauce will probably get it though.
Yeah, Sauce has to get it. That just by name, just by what he did in college, and everyone's gonna remember Sauce.
Yeah.
That dude's a stud. I'm still mad.
That's true. I forgot about that. But I don't know. I just think the offensive side. I don't know. I don't see a rookie that's like going crazy.
That's completely separated himself. Not having either. I mean, like I said, maybe an offensive tackle or something like that started all year, and and their team is doing well. Like I know there's a rookie offensive tackle in Kansas City, right? That's been playing. Tristan Wirfs or whatever.
Oh yeah, and I think Seattle has 2 rookie offensive tackles too.
Yeah, but they're not playing that great. And look at what we did to them. So I think Kansas City is I think the Tristan Wirfs or whatever. He got selected to a Pro Bowl too already. So he's making a case for offensive rookie of the year. But we'll see.
It's not a sexy pick though.
I know, but that's what they're going to say about Brock because of all the weapons he has around him. He did what he was supposed to do in that offense. And that's the shitty part about being on a team like ours is you come in and you do well. It's like, oh well, he should have did well. He got CMC and he got Kittle and he got Debo and he got he's never going to get credit, especially going on a Niners team. It's almost as bad as being on the Raiders. Like you're never going to get credit for being good because there's always going to be an excuse as to why you performed the way you performed.
I mean, the first game we threw it 37. He threw it 37 times. That was crazy. But then after that, I mean, we have like cut his throws down, but we're up. We're up so much. Like no reason.
Mm-hmm.
And he's helping us get the leads. It's not like we're running the ball to get the leads. Like
we're pulling away, and then we're playing based off of the.
Yeah, he's thrown 5 touchdowns in the last 2 weeks, I think. So it's like he's throwing the ball. He's not throwing the ball. So.
Speaking of which, did you see that play that they did where he did the 2 fakes, like fake passes or whatever, and then threw it to Kittle? Did you see that we had done that? We had did that with like Montana, like
hell years ago. Yeah, that's a Bill play.
Yeah, I was like,
I didn't know it was a Bill Walsh play until I saw it on the highlight. I saw the highlight.
Yeah, I was like, that's insane. Shanahan legit said, "I'm gonna score with. I'm gonna play homage to your coach and this play look good."
We ran it before with Mullins. Mullins did it, and George didn't score on the play, but he did get some yards. And they blitzed the shit out of it and smacked Mullins in the face. But he got like 50 yards, 40 yards on it or something. This was probably the best ran that I've seen in a while. I think that's a good play. He has a few of those plays that he doesn't pull out very often. When he does pull them out, they go for big yards, scores. The one play that he ran
because of his tendencies of the rest of the game, that's why those plays end up working because he's constantly doing routes and plays like that.
That play is going to open things up later in the season, though. Because you're worried about it, right? So now you're thinking like, oh shit, we can't jump that because now George is coming over the middle. Mm-hmm. So you got that's gonna open room space up for Debo.
Yeah.
The one play that he's ran a few times though that we haven't seen in a couple weeks was the one for Christian McCaffrey when he comes out of the backfield and he runs the fake out and goes up down the sideline. I haven't seen it since the Miami game. He ran it against Jimmy G ran it the week before, and the next week he ran it. I haven't seen it since.
It's all set up. Shanahan's playing chess out there. I'm not gonna guess.
Yeah. I also think that Purdy runs the offense the way Shanahan wants to run it, so it kind of opens up his creativity.
That's what I mean. Purdy's basically came out and said that. Like, I'm not doing anything other than what the coach is asking me to do. He's very humility's there, but it's one of those things where it's like he's telling the truth. He's doing exactly what he's expected to do. Like, he's not doing anything crazy, anything special. He's doing what the coach is asking him to do, and it's working. So
I think Jimmy G didn't want to run the play action offense. He just wanted to do
because he wasn't good at it. that's the problem is he could only throw the check down and maybe the quick middle of the field type of plays, but he couldn't get it anywhere else. So it made more sense for him to run a shotgun to where it could give him some time to actually look around the field opposed to having to make those decisions because he just wasn't talented enough to make those calls quick enough, and he would lean on specific receivers every time. So
I feel that. All right, man, let's get out of here.
Yes, sir. It's a long one. That's to make up for you guys for not recording for the last few weeks. So.
And I went on vacation, and then what
Life happened, holidays happened, but I'll post some videos from the game as the Niners progressively dominate. That's the plan.
Domination. All right, y'all. Merry Christmas. Stay safe.
Merry Christmas. Happy holidays.
Tune in Christmas Eve to watch the Niners dominate the Commandos. And we'll see y'all. Straight Shooting with the Boys. We'll see y'all later.
Let's go, let's go!